Daniel stood frozen. The club president slowly walked toward him. Victor whispered, "Daniel, give me the box." Daniel shook his head. "No." The president smiled. "You don't understand what you found." Daniel held the black box tighter. "I understand enough. You ruined my father's career." The president's expression changed. "Your father ruined his own career." Victor stepped forward. "Don't lie to him." The president looked at Victor. "You should have stayed away from this." Victor shook his head. "I made that mistake once. I'm not making it again." Daniel looked between them. "What happened to my father?" The president sighed. "Your father discovered the organization." "What organization?" "The people controlling football. People who decide which teams win, which players become famous, which referees get paid." Daniel's eyes widened. "And you were part of it?" The president smiled. "I was one of the people running it." Daniel felt sick. "Why did you destroy my father?" "Because he wanted to expose us." Victor suddenly shouted, "Daniel, run!" Victor attacked the president. The two men crashed into the wall. Daniel grabbed the evidence and ran toward the door. But the president managed to push Victor away. He pulled out his phone. "Stop him." Daniel ran through the tunnel. He could hear footsteps behind him. He reached the stadium. He ran onto the field. There were people waiting for him. 3 men. Daniel immediately turned around. They were blocking the exit. "Give us the box." Daniel shook his head. "No." One of the men stepped forward. "You don't want to make this difficult." Daniel looked around. Then he saw something. A football. He picked it up. The man laughed. "What are you going to do with that?" Daniel smiled. "You'll see." He kicked the ball toward the man's face. Boom. The man fell backward. Daniel sprinted past him. Another man grabbed his shirt. Daniel spun around. He slipped out of the shirt and kept running. The third man chased him. Daniel reached the stadium entrance. Then he heard a familiar voice. "Daniel!" It was Victor. He was running toward him. "Keep going!" Daniel and Victor escaped through a side entrance. They jumped into Victor's car. Victor started the engine. "Did you get everything?" Daniel held up the black box. "Everything." Victor smiled. "Good." But then Daniel looked at the documents. "Where do we go now?" Victor thought for a moment. "The police?" Daniel shook his head. "What if the police are involved too?" Victor became silent. Daniel pointed at the list. "There are police officers on here." Victor looked at him. "You're right." Daniel suddenly had an idea. "The media." Victor frowned. "What? If everyone sees this, they can't hide it." Victor smiled. "Your father would have thought the same thing." They drove toward a television station. But before they arrived, Daniel's phone started ringing. Unknown number. He answered. "Hello?" A distorted voice spoke. "Daniel, who are you? You have something that belongs to us." Daniel clenched his fists. "No, you don't understand. We know where your family lives." Daniel's expression changed. "Don't touch my family." "Then give us the evidence." Daniel looked at Victor. The voice continued. "You have 1 hour. After that, you'll lose someone you love." The call ended. Daniel stared at his phone. Victor looked at him. "What happened?" Daniel slowly answered. "They're threatening my family." Victor became serious. "We need to protect them." Daniel looked at the evidence. Then he looked toward the television station in the distance. "We're not going to run." Victor nodded. "What are you going to do?" Daniel took a deep breath. "We're going to expose them." They arrived at the television station. Daniel walked inside, carrying the evidence. A journalist looked at him. "Can I help you?" Daniel placed the black box on the desk. "You need to see this." The journalist opened it. His expression immediately changed. "Where did you get this?" "My father." The journalist looked at Daniel. "Who was your father?" Daniel answered. His name was Daniel's father. The journalist stared at him. Then he realized who he was talking about. "You mean?" "Yes." The journalist looked through the documents. This could be the biggest story in football history. Daniel nodded. Then show the world. But just as the journalist reached for the computer, every light in the building suddenly turned off. The entire station went dark. People started screaming. Daniel heard footsteps behind him. Victor whispered, "Daniel, don't move." A voice echoed through the darkness. "You should have stayed on the football field." Then the emergency lights turned on. Daniel looked around. The journalist was gone, and the black box was missing. Daniel stared at the empty desk. The black box was gone. So was the journalist. Where did he go? Victor looked around. They took him. Daniel clenched his fists. Who? Victor pointed toward the emergency exit. Whoever came in here. Daniel immediately ran toward the door. Victor followed him. They reached the parking lot. A black car was speeding away. Daniel pointed. T-H-E-R-E. Victor ran toward his car. Get in! They jumped inside. Victor started the engine. The chase began. The black car raced through the city. Victor followed. Daniel looked at the license plate. I can see it. Victor nodded. Good. The black car suddenly turned left. Victor followed. It turned again. Then again. Daniel looked behind them. They're trying to lose us. Victor stepped on the gas. We can't let them. The black car entered an underground parking garage. Victor followed. The car disappeared around a corner. Victor slammed on the brakes. Where did they go? Daniel looked around. There were dozens of parked cars. Then he noticed something. A door was slowly closing at the end of the garage. Over there! They ran toward it. They entered a dark hallway. Daniel heard voices. Where's the evidence? I don't have it. It was the journalist. Daniel whispered. He's alive. Victor nodded. They slowly moved forward. Then Daniel heard another voice. You know what happens if you don't tell us. Daniel recognized it. The club president. Daniel looked at Victor. We need to get him out. Victor nodded. They entered the room. Get away from him. Everyone turned around. The club president stared at Daniel. You again. Daniel walked forward. Let him go. The president laughed. You're very brave for a 12-year-old. Daniel looked at the journalist. Are you okay? The journalist nodded. The president suddenly pulled out a phone. You should be more worried about your family. Daniel froze. He showed Daniel a live video. Daniel's mother and siblings were sitting inside their house. Daniel's heart dropped. Let them go. Give me the evidence. Daniel looked at Victor. Victor whispered, Don't. Daniel looked back at the president. You want the evidence? Yes. Daniel slowly reached into his bag. He pulled out a USB drive. The president smiled. Good. Daniel threw it toward him. The president caught it. He immediately checked it. Is this everything? Daniel nodded. Yes. The president smiled. Smart boy. He turned toward the journalist. Kill him. Daniel's eyes widened. What? The president suddenly realized something was wrong. He looked at the USB drive, then at Daniel. You lied. Daniel smiled. You said you wanted the evidence, but you never asked which evidence. Victor laughed. The president's face turned red. You little... Suddenly, sirens could be heard outside. The president looked toward the door. What? Daniel smiled. I sent the real evidence to hundreds of journalists. The president stared at him. Impossible. Victor pulled out his phone. It's already online. The journalist looked at his own phone. People are sharing it everywhere. The president became furious. You have no idea what you've done. Daniel looked at him. I know exactly what I did, just like my father. The president froze. Police officers stormed into the room. Nobody move. The president tried to escape, but Victor tackled him to the ground. The police arrested him. Daniel finally breathed again. The journalist walked toward him. You saved me. Daniel shook his head. We saved each other. Then the journalist looked at his phone. His face changed. Daniel, what? You need to see this. Daniel looked at the screen. The evidence had spread across the internet. Millions of people were watching. The biggest football clubs in the world were being investigated. Players were speaking out. Referees were being questioned. The entire football world was in chaos. Then, another headline appeared. Football corruption scandal exposed teenage player at center of investigation. Daniel stared at the screen. His father had spent years trying to expose the truth. And now, Daniel had finished what he started. But there was one problem. Marcus was still in prison. And when he saw the news, he smiled, because he knew something nobody else knew. Daniel's father had left behind one final secret, and Marcus knew exactly where it was. To be continued.